Oh, dang it. DC. Technical difficulties. What's up, guys? My dad will be here in a second. No, I don't want to show display names. He said do some dancing until he gets there. So we're gonna hold down the fort. Hey, Sky. Y'all, tonight when we do the reading, Sky did some amazing artwork. Hey, Deanna. Hey, Mermeow. Hey, Fizzlesticks. Avery, hi. Who am I missing? What's up? I think we're gonna okay, we have a decision to make. I'm lagging. I'm lagging so much. Okay, let me close. I was trying to export something in the background. So, I hope I'm not super lagging. Oops, I need to pause that. We hit 578. Hooray, even number. Christina! How are you? Ray Higdon, my dad could react to Ray Higdon. The twisty thing is, I feel like Ray's on his best behavior on his YouTube channel. And then he behaves not on his best behavior behind the paywall when you join his rank makers group. Okay, awesome. Sweet. Avery is our tech genius. Thank you so much, Fizzlesticks. Yeah. So, but I don't want to kill the vibe. Let me change the banner style because it's a little, let's see. What's this one? That's small. That's too small. Let's see. Let's try this one. Is that okay? That's better. Oh, I was watching Chelsea too, and then I was like, Dad, we're going live, and he said, I'm almost back home. It's genetic. No, never too much credit. Avery's the best. If y'all saw our Young Living reading last Saturday, Avery was the comment wrangler, and it was great. It was great. Yeah, so let me turn on some stream beats. And hopefully my video exports. Oh, dang it. We're turning off my notifications. I've already sent XCAL the link. Spotify. I know, the same song. I have to find some more copyright-free music because there's a limit of what I have. So if y'all have any ideas or if you know any creators who have copyright-free music, I'm open. I'm open to hearing it. Yeah, so I know I don't want to kill the vibe because Ray is Ray, you know. Okay, so we can save this. I'm just gonna minimize it. I don't know what to do necessarily. I was just like, XCAL, we need to stream. He's like, for sure. Lofi Beats? Okay. Is it Lofi Beats on YouTube or is it on Spotify too? Lofi Beats 2022. XCAL! What up, XCAL?
I need to hear you.
I can hear you too.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Oh. Okay. I think... Oh, no. No one can hear me now.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? Hold on. My sound's off. It's a user error. Let's see here. Okay. How about now?
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay. All right.
So,
what's up, everyone's excited to see you, XCAL.
Oh, good. I'm excited to see them too.
Did you do the things you had to do at the job?
I'm officially unemployed today.
Oh, everyone send good vibes to XCAL. Hello, communal dad.
Hey, Avery.
Oh, thanks, Aaron. I mean, I can appreciate. I'm here. I'm just here for XCAL too. So we're all just here to watch XCAL. So I was gonna have you react to Ray Higdon, he is a network marketer. Hi, XCAL/dad. Hello, Crystal. I probably need to tell the Discord I'm live, or let me just do that real quick. The only problem is this guy, Ray Higdon, he's kind of a big... You had me at Ray. He's a big... Good vibes, XCAL. He's a big network marketing trainer. He used to be a top network marketing recruiter.
Gotcha.
And he's pretty behind closed doors. He feels like a different person. I don't know if Aaron could say something in the chat. I could pop on the screen, but when I was watching his videos today, it feels like a gaslighty type of situation where you're like, wow, you come across as kind of emotionally unhealthy, and you can go from being calm 1 second to screaming at the people who are paying for this course the next second. But on your YouTube video, I'm like, XCAL's probably gonna like him, and my account's probably gonna spontaneously combust at the same time. You know? So it's just kind of a it's a weird thing. And I don't know if have you ever experienced that in all of your years of sales, where someone was shiny and sparkly around other people, and then behind closed doors with their team, when people weren't looking, they were a different person in a bad way?
Very funny. So yes, I have experienced that, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And but the good news is that we always have a choice to stay around people like that or not. And the unfortunate part is that oftentimes the person, if a person in charge is that way, it really makes it a tough situation for people that are under them or report to them, because then they have to make a decision about, do I stay around this kind of environment or not? And and I'm of the opinion that that healthy environments are important for great results. And my vote would be that if those kinds of people are not willing or able to change, then you're better served to find an environment that would be healthy for you than to stay in an environment that's not healthy for you.
Okay.
And I'm just, I'm speaking from experience as well.
Yeah. Have you ever encountered, because your personality is such that you seem to be a very strong person that doesn't really get stuck being around. I don't know. I guess so. My personality, I'm a little more timid. I'm a little more a people pleaser. I'm kind of potentially get into situations that may not be healthy in the work, because I am competitive. I like being a team player, and sometimes find myself in these it's unhealthy for a work situation where it's like, this feels manipulative. This feels kind of slimy. I guess before I throw up this video, can you speak to that, or can you give encouragement to people like me who don't have as strong personality like you, where, do you know what I'm trying to say? Is there? Oh, Amy says hi. Your dad is the best. Amy is my she's an ex Beachbody coach, and we go live together to snark on Carl Deichler. So she is. Oh, and so this Erin knows more about Ray. She said emotional manipulation is how he controls people, in her opinion. And then he also said he turns anger onto a mostly female demographic. So his teams that he works with, that he hires, are mostly women. And we've talked to people who have left his organization where they describe a very toxic environment, almost abusive, where he directs it towards females, and then when he's talking to guys, he's a completely different
message.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, and unfortunately, a lot of times, what happens, what can happen in a home environment happens in the business environment. In other words, there's this behavior that supports that abusive behavior. I mean, that's what it is. It's abusive behavior, whether it shows up in the workplace or not. And we have this codependent supporting behavior, when in reality, it needs to be no. If you're going to talk about my performance, it's perfectly appropriate to address that issue. But if we're going to talk about it, going to talk about it in a way that's abusive or mean-spirited or bullying in any way, shape, or form, that doesn't belong anywhere. Doesn't belong at home. Doesn't belong in the workplace. And we need to set up clear boundaries. And that's where the challenge comes in. Is that if we're not used to protecting our boundaries, then what ends up happening is we let people go off-road on us. They basically take down those walls that we would like to have, and they feel totally justified in saying whatever they want to, and that's not okay. It's just not. I don't know how to talk about that other than talking about very specific situations in terms of how to handle that. But I think that telling people no is a very good thing. I saw a recent situation where that was happening, and I made the comment to the person that if you want to address actual behavior and performance, that's okay. That's perfectly appropriate to do. But the other thing is, people in charge need to understand that if they're carrying a lot of weight already, if they're the 800-pound gorilla in the room, so to speak, you don't have to do much more than tell someone that you're disappointed in their performance for that to be very impactful and very meaningful for them. And they'll change behavior just based on the fact they know that they're not meeting up to your standard. The whole screaming, yelling, abusive kind of stuff, the emotional bullying, what I call it, that's all a function of A, immaturity, and B, the fact that other people allow that person to behave that way in public. And it's just, it has no place.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone in the live chat agrees with that. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this video. It's just a sales training. It's not anything. It's not a gotcha moment. It's publicly available on his YouTube.
Okay.
He, and let me just double check that. I guess before I decide which video to do, how do you feel about the law of attraction?
That like attracts like? Is that what you're talking about?
Kind of. So in network marketing, there's a large portion of people, I'm not a big fan of it, where they say that you can really think things into existence. Like you can think your way to more wealth, more influence, more recruits. They kind of base it off of The Secret book. I mean, there's an older kind of mentality about that. I'm not a big. I know some you used to sell door to door, so there has to be some kind of mental strength that you build up in that situation, because you're tired, you're hot, you're probably chafed. You probably get yelled at sometimes. In that situation, I could imagine having to build up mental toughness, but I don't know what you think about the law of attraction, or if there's any nuance that you could bring to the conversation, or at least just tell us your perspective on it.
Okay. First of all, that's a big, there's a lot of discussion points in that.
Okay.
I do think that our mental attitude affects our altitude. I do believe that how we see ourselves and how we behave consistently in our self-talk has a huge impact on our day-to-day performance. I think it's, I think from a salesperson perspective, I mean, if you think about, if you're thinking positively and you're thinking, when you pick up the phone, for example, having a smile on your face and being excited about talking to the person has an impact on how that conversation comes through. And that absolutely can have an impact on the results that you get from that. So I absolutely believe that you control your behavior and you control your mindset. I do think that external things can have an impact on that. And that's why it is so important that you manage what you can control, because there are outside factors that have an impact on us and our situation and our environment and so forth. But I will tell you that the ability to be able to think things through and behave in a certain way, while it doesn't necessarily always affect the current result, it absolutely affects how you perceive yourself and how you interact and work going forward. So the whole the law of attraction, the fact that you can behave yourself into success, I do believe that there is some truth to that. Having said that, I also think that there is that people can use that very manipulatively and can create a scenario where you feel guilty about not being a certain way or not being a certain way. And and so I think the important thing for us when we ask ourselves is, how does this apply to me? What can I do to impact who I am as a person? Because ultimately, my results are going to depend on lots and lots of things, not just me, but I'm the biggest controllable piece in that. And so can I control the things that are within my scope and over time build and make my scope bigger? A great book that I read years and years ago and I still really love is a book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks about growing your scope or growing your circle of influence or your circle and how that impacts your circle of control and how those two things are not necessarily identical, but how they interact. And I think it's important for us to be able to look in the mirror and say, what are my controllables? What do I do that's going to impact the results that I have every day? Can I control, for example, we're talking about sales and not necessarily multi-level marketing, but let's talk about sales from my perspective, because I just left a job that was involved in sales significantly. And am I controlling the controllables? Am I calling the right people every day? Do I call the right people every day? Do I have a great attitude when I call them? Or have I done enough foundational training for myself so that I'm prepared to be the expert in those conversations with them? Am I asking good questions and then shutting my mouth and listening well? I mean, there's lots of things that I can do. Ultimately, I don't make the buying decision, but am I closing effectively and giving them lots and lots of chances to buy? All of those things go into the pool, if you will, or the bucket of determining whether or not I am successful or not successful. And so I need to be willing to own my own stuff. And be willing also at the same time to say, okay, there's some stuff I don't own and I can't control that. So how do I minimize the impact of that on the results that I get every day? And so I know that's not necessarily an answer to it. I do think the law of attraction has validity. I think that it is absolutely something that we all can learn from. And I think that God puts in us the ability to be able to rise above our situation and be better than who we can be just from a day-to-day standpoint. And so our ability to be able to step up and be who God intends for us to be as opposed to who we are is a journey that we have to buy into and participate in and move forward with. And ultimately, there's a piece of that impacts on our success. But I think also you can do that same thing and be doing the wrong thing and have success in the wrong areas too. So so the law of attraction, I think the short answer is yes, I believe that it's true. I also believe that we need to know who we are and have a very clear perspective of who we are so that we don't allow people to manipulate those things in our life.
Okay. I differ a little bit on I understand parts of it. I don't necessarily get on board with some of the other points of law of attraction. But again, it's difficult because I've known you obviously my whole life. You are a great dad. You've been a great dad to me. You are a great husband to my mom. You have never really been that person who is trying to manipulate people for personal gain or personal profit. That's a pretty, I mean, that's just what I've seen. I've seen other, like growing up, I saw other people in authority positions where you could tell there was an ulterior motive, where there was, they had skin in the game for things, and there was manipulation involved. And I don't necessarily, obviously I could be way biased. I'm sure I am somewhat biased about you because I like you as a person. I like you as my dad.
I'm so likable anyways,
Yeah, I mean, but it's yeah, I feel like there's some, like law of attraction, you take a lot of ownership over your own behavior, and you take a lot of you're a pretty self-aware person, where there's some things that when you're talking about sales, understanding what you're selling, being personable, actually being a good listener, like those controllables in terms of getting a better sale. I get that. I see other people talk about law of attraction, and it goes on the other end of the spectrum, where it's like, well, being around negative people is going to make you a negative person. Being around depressed people is going to make you a depressed person. Being around happy people is going to make you a happy person. It like emotions are contagious or corrupting. Now, I get the idea of when I was in Mary Kay and going to the meetings that I was able to drive to, it was a positive experience being around positive people. I get that. The danger I see is villainizing people and using
absolutely.
that. And so it's like, where's the balance in that conversation when you're dealing with people who aren't like you, who have a very strong ethical and core of integrity too, where you don't cross certain lines, but that's your own decision. Does that make sense? Like, there's not a lot of people like you, in my opinion, out there, because a lot of times they say, well, my self-interest, I'm going to make exceptions for where the boundary line is in different conversations.
That's another good point. I think that the reality is that being around, first of all, being around motivated people doesn't motivate me. Being around happy people doesn't necessarily make me happy.
Okay.
I make conscious decisions about how I choose to behave, and so I need to be able to own my own behavior. Having said that, if I'm around a bunch of people that are excited and enthusiastic, is that more likely to make me for me to be more enthusiastic? Yes, some of that's infectious, but does that mean that if I'm around people that are struggling with depression or whatever the case might be, that I should cut them out of my life, or that I'm going to be more depressed? No, I've got an opportunity to pour into their life and encourage them. I'm not a little sailboat that's being pushed around by the wind, and every time the wind blows in a different direction, I go that way. Now, I do think that it is absolutely one of those situations where we are impacted by our environment. That's just true. We are, and there is some of that absolutely is meaningful and real, but I'm not gonna abdicate my ability to be able to control myself, to say, well, just because I'm around that kind of person means I'm that way. And it doesn't, and I'm not gonna necessarily have my friends or choose my friends based on whether they love the multi-level marketing company I'm with, or whether they love the business I'm with, or whether they, there's people in my neighborhood that don't necessarily have all of the same beliefs that I do. I'm sure I don't hold true to all the beliefs that everybody on the chat has. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have to make a decision based on do they agree with everything that I agree with. That's not who God made us to be. And, we have to be able to, we live in a world where there's a lot of differences of opinion and a lot of differences of behavior. And so the reality is that, I get to float my own boat. I get to determine my own how high I can ascend or not ascend. Now, I'm not saying that I can just take things from other people. That's not what I'm saying. But my ability to, or my emotional behavior isn't necessarily. It's someone else doesn't control that. I control my own decisions. I control my behavior. I control my response to everyone. And so just because, for example, someone is angry at me doesn't mean I should be angry at them, or nor does it mean I necessarily have to have an angry response to them. That's what road rage is. I mean, people out there responding to somebody else and choosing to be this, be a mirror. Well, I don't need to be a mirror. That's okay. If you cut me off in traffic, I might say something, about you, but that doesn't necessarily mean I want to chase you down and hit your car.
Right.
I get to choose those, the extent of my decisions there, my behavior there.
Yeah.
I think we all do. I think we all have an opportunity there. And maybe if we don't feel strong enough in the beginning, it's finding little victories and be able to move things incrementally. If I find myself in a situation where someone is trying to, what I feel like is manipulate me, then that's a good time to step back and say, what is it that I'm concerned about here? And is this an environment that is healthy for me? Now, yes, it could absolutely be a situation where you say, no, it's not healthy. I need to find a way to extract myself from this. But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because someone's depressed that we need to go find some happy person. People are happy that do things that I don't agree with. I don't necessarily want to be around happy people doing things that I don't like.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's good that you didn't want to be around other people, because I remember I had, growing up, I think you and I had many conversations where I had struggle like processing emotions, where I'd feel a lot of things at the same time. And you told me multiple times in a conversation way, like a realistic way, like you can't take everybody out with you. In the terms of, and I think I do better with it, but I mean, being medicated also has helped me a little bit. But again, there's that balance of, there's some habits, there's some tools, counseling, therapy, also practice, also conversations, also, hey, you said this, that you said it this way specifically. And so it's like, I think we're different in that you're very much not a mirror person, and I'm feeling a lot of things all the time. And I do probably get swept up with that, but it was also relatively painful growing up, where I had lots of friends who didn't struggle with their mental health. And there was lots of questions of, how come you can't be happier? Or, are you still sad? And it's like, oh, so I know I picked up some of that too, but it also kind of falls into some of that attraction marketing. Like, you're going to be like the 5 closest friends around you, or you're going to be like the 5 or the 4 other richest friends, or whatever that thinking is.
Yeah,
but it's like,
it's knucklehead media. That's what it is. They're trying to, you're right. They're trying to manipulate behavior based on something that has a core of truth in it, but they take and use it in a way that's that's not ethical, and it's not the way it's intended to be used. I mean, just because I have a tool that does a good job, if I use it for the wrong thing, it's not the right tool.
Yeah. And
so I can have something that's a truth, but if I don't use it in a truthful way and I don't use it with integrity, then that's on me.
Yeah.
That's something that I have going on. Hey, DC, can you hold on just a second? I've got a code emergency I need to address.
Okay. Coda is their dog, so she probably either wants to go out or she's caught a rabbit outside, so. Or they just say snap out of it. Yep. Yep. That's right. Just because someone is positive doesn't make them a good person. I've been around manipulative, positive people.
Exactly.
Me too. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And just because someone is struggling with depression or isn't as happy as you are doesn't make them a bad person.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna pop in this Ray Higdon video.
Okay.
This again, live chat. This might not be the best representation of who we know Ray to be behind closed doors. I haven't been sent. Amy, if you're ever in the same area, we should definitely go to dinner. Amy and her husband are a hoot, Dad, and she's been great too for me to watch some videos. Leaving Young Living. Okay, let me see. Oh boy, Ray, where did you go? Close that one out.
And so he's got this big team, and he's
yeah. So he used to
with them.
He's made millions and millions of dollars in network marketing. Okay. He and his wife both were in network marketing. Okay. And they have stopped actively recruiting several years ago, according to him. And he started a coaching business for network marketers called Rank Makers. Okay. And we've had Aaron has hosted these interviews with people who have left Rank Makers who are higher up, where it was very emotional, like emotionally toxic, in their words, and from what I believe as well was like manipulative, abusive on some levels for what happened. And it's just it's weird and he also has a show that he produced and that's on YouTube, where he was giving sales tips in this competition type setting for people, and it really conflicted with things that I saw you do as a salesperson. But we're not going to watch that because Erin does that on her channel. So I'm going to pop in this video. Live chat, if you have questions for XCAL, ask them now. So, okay. Janet says, this is Janet's daughter's account, so that's why it says Jana, but it's Janet. No, he scams people by offering coaching, but the coaching is not really anything, nothing taught, mainly manipulation. That's a good point. Janet Ray's a little bit hard for me to listen to because he yells a lot. So let me see. Okay, in a healthy perspective though, XCAL, what's the positive side of the perspective of go for no? Have you ever done that in sales?
Okay, so go for the no. Basically, that what sales is about, first of all, is going for the no is closing. It's going for pushing to the point where someone says, no, I don't want to do that, whatever the case might be. And your job as a salesperson is to close the sale and get a sale. So going for the no means actually closing. It's creating a situation where you ask the question, well, if do you have any more questions before we go back and fill out the paperwork on this, whatever the case might be, and it gives them a chance to say no. Okay, if they don't say no, what does that mean? That means they're saying yes. They're acknowledging that they're ready to make a decision, which is what sales is about: helping people get to a point of making a decision. Is your job to talk them into buying something that they don't want? Absolutely not. That's not the deal. But the flip side of it is that most people, they get scared then, and they don't ask the question. They don't get people to the point where they get to make a decision. And so your job is to help them get to that point when they realize, oh, I'm ready to decide on this. I'm ready to go forward. And so going for the no is absolutely a critical part of selling in whatever way, shape, or form. It's like two people dating together, and the guy never asks the girl, or the girl never asks the guy, or whatever the case might be. Or nowadays it's like guys and girls with girls, but that's another issue. But if you never ask the person that you're in love with that you want to marry them, then it absolutely, it's like there's no end in mind. We're just going to date forever and ever and ever. And so that's assuming that marriage is a part of the relationship that somebody wants to enter into. But it's important to ask. And if you get a no, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to do it. It means that there's something that's preventing you from taking the next step. Well, that's good, because at that point in time, now you can find out, oh, what is it? What is creating the no answer now? It may not be no, I don't want it. It may mean that they need to process something else, or they don't have enough information, or there's a price objection, or whatever the case might be. So no brings you closer to making a decision. Ultimately, again, who makes the decision? As a salesperson, you don't make that decision. They do. They're deciding. You're not. So your goal is not to talk them into something they don't want, but your goal is to help them get to a point where they can make a yes decision on what they do want.
Okay. Yeah, that does. Can you? I guess I sound kind of dumb when I say this, but could you tell us, or could you explain to me, is there a side of that can be manipulative regarding go for no? Is there a side that, like, what would people want to look out for if they're not super familiar with sales, or is there like a ditch that you can fall into with that process of talking to people about a sale?
Obviously, the ditch is that if you don't believe that there's ever anyone that would ever not want to buy your product, I mean, that's idiotic. But if you think everybody's going to want to buy, every single person is going to want to buy, and you think that their no is really a yes, then that's a ditch. Then that absolutely is a ditch. Again, it's the foundation of what is it that I'm trying to accomplish when I'm closing, as I'm getting these negative responses. Sometimes it might be I don't like this home. And I just got out of the home sales business, or at least I got out of it with one company. So people might be saying, there's really something about this home I don't like, or they may be saying that they're still processing that decision. So finding out what their no means is important to be able to say, do we go forward or not?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's super fair. Let's see. I don't know if this video is going to be great. This is Ray Higdon. This is his manifestation talk. I'm going to leave the captions on for, let's see if this is a better view. Nope. Then people can't see the captions. Okay. I'm going to play 5 seconds. Let me know if y'all can hear it. It's not a long video. It's just 12 minutes. Let's see.
Talk about how to manifest with law of attraction.
Can y'all hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
So first, we'll cover what is the law of attraction and how does it work. Next, we'll talk about how to use it to get what you want in your life. And lastly, I'll share 2 activities that you could do daily to really kick in the law of attraction for you. So the law of attraction is the concept that whatever you're thinking about and feeling, you attract into your life. And this is something you may have seen, the very, very popular movie called The Secret. The Secret is, I do highly recommend it. Sometimes it gets negative feedback because some people take it as all you have to do is think about things and then they'll just magically show up in your life. And that's actually not the message from the movie. They talk about how when you start thinking about the things that you want in your life and start feeling about the things that you want in your life, you'll be presented sets of options that, if taken, will actually help you to get to those things. And so I think one thing that you need to understand about the law of attraction is, yes, what you're predominantly thinking about and feeling with emotions, you're going to attract more scenarios in your life that pertain to that set of thoughts and that set of emotions. This is very, very powerful for you to understand because it works either way. It works negative, it works positive. So the person that is constantly moving and always finding that negative next door neighbor, yet they move again, same thing, move again, same thing. That has to do with you preemptively anticipating the arrival of something you believe is going to be there. and then it shows up for you. So it is true what you think about
is okay. I guess I feel dumb. I don't know. I just don't. Part of it I agree with, and part of it I don't agree with, I guess. I don't know what you think.
So what's the part that you agree with on that?
Sometimes what you focus on, you start to notice more of. I've noticed that with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think that it means that I have created more negativity if I notice potentially negative things that I didn't myself create it. I maybe just notice it. Like if you are trying to hit your brother or sister for woodchucks, the little wagons, the whatever, those cars with the wood paneling, all of a sudden you see a lot of those. I get it in that limited capacity, but I'm not creating those woodchucks from coming, like I'm not creating those with my mind. I'm not making them appear. More of them are not appearing around me.
What's happening? What happens?
I think
you're noticing, you're creating you're aware of those things because you're using a filter that says that's important to me.
Okay.
You're filtering what you see, whether it be slug bugs or woodchucks or whatever the case might be. You're applying a filter that says I'm going to notice this. I want to notice this. So we absolutely have the ability, in our minds, God's given us the ability to be able to fine tune and focus in on things in our environment that in other words, it creates intentional behavior. It creates you're looking for something. You're focusing on something. You're making something more important as opposed to less important.
Okay.
And so I do also think, though, from what he says, that sometimes focusing and finding all these negative neighbors can, sometimes that can be a little bit of a mirror. Maybe you're a part of the negative process to begin with, because everybody has negative and positive aspects of themselves. And so if you're finding a bunch of neighbors who are negative, it may be that you're out there, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Here's something to think about. When you buy a new car, okay?
Yeah.
What happens when you're driving around?
You start noticing more of the car that you just bought or that you're wanting to buy.
And why do you notice those cars?
Because you just bought one or that you want that one?
Because you bought it and you're affirming to yourself that you've made a
good choice,
good decision.
Okay.
That's your mind saying you're really smart, DC, because you bought that car too. And so we absolutely have the ability to turn that filter on or turn it off. So that really is a part of how we're wired, how we're put together. And from that perspective, that's a good thing. Now, can it be used for a bad thing? You bet it can. You can notice the wrong things as opposed to the right things. That's what addiction is about, to some extent. Not totally. I don't want to get into a big conversation about that. But the reality is that we build roads in our mind of things that we care about, and we will drive down those roads. And the more we drive down them, the more we notice them, and the more we notice them, the more we drive down them. So what ends up happening is we absolutely do create thoroughfares in our mind for things that we've decided are important.
Okay. So the ditch side of that, I hate talking about the ditches. I get caught up in trying to make something apply to everything in my life.
Yep.
And as I've gotten older, I realize that extreme application, it's not accurate. So like something can be true for a small sliver of things.
That's right.
It doesn't have to make a complete circle to apply to everything.
Exactly.
But it's still hard. It's still hard to step back from that tendency that I had growing up to say, okay, well, if this is true, it's true for everything. And sometimes when I've been watching these Zoom calls, even being in Young Living, that mindset of, hey, if you notice some, or if you, that affirmation of that decision, or you're thinking about a car and you see I'm like, okay, well, if I think negative thoughts, something bad is going to happen to me. Or I'm sick, I must have thought myself sick. And I know that's a dumb, I'm saying that I've thought those things. I'm saying that I know that but it was also additionally affirmed by people in Young Living too. So I'm glad I'm out now. But I know that, one, it's not just me that's doing it. There's people who are financially profiting off their downlines, perpetuating that idea as well. Mm-hmm. So what's the balance? Like, what's a balanced perspective that you can offer for people like me, I guess?
Have you ever been in a situation where somebody was telling you something and you're thinking to yourself, something doesn't sound right about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that very much can be your internal voice, whatever you want to call that, telling you that there may not be all truth in there. We have a tendency sometimes to look at people that are telling us things and think, oh, this is, God coming down to speak to Moses, and this truth is an all-powerful, all-encompassing truth. When the reality is, it's a person saying something that they think is the right thing that may or may not be the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have an opportunity when we receive that to take it in and either plant it or not. It's our choice to plant it or not. We don't think about that. We can unintentionally plant a whole bunch of stuff that grows up into weeds. But as we grow more mature and grow older, and hopefully wiser, then what ends up happening is that we decide what we want to plant and what we want to throw away.
Yeah.
Because there are absolute, and when you have a little voice telling you, something doesn't pass the smell test here, that may be an opportunity to back up and say, well, let me examine it. Let me see what it is that I'm concerned about. Is it something that I fear in myself? Or is it something that is inconsistent with the things that I know to be true? Because there's lots of reasons why something doesn't pass a smell test, why that voice speaks up at that point in time. It could be our own insecurities, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, our insecurities help us to not do things like walk into the street and get hit by a car.
Right.
So they're not always bad.
Right.
But we also need to be able to take a moment to be able to back up and say, what is it that is giving me these signals, if you will, about the thing I'm hearing? And sometimes you don't have, it's not rocket science. I mean, if you see someone yelling and screaming and behaving badly, it doesn't take a PhD to say, that's the wrong behavior. I don't know what you're saying, pal, but whatever it is, it could have been said in a different way, and that's not right.
Yeah.
And we don't need someone else to tell us that.
Yeah, and that's, again, coming from, what do you say when, I guess I have more questions. When you have that reaction where what you just said was when you see something wrong and you have that little voice in your head saying that, hey, that's not right, and you speak up. In that next situation where you speak up to that person and they say, well, you've never been this successful in sales as I have. So what do you know? What do you know about how I am training my team to achieve the next level? Well, I mean, what do you say to that situation?
That, if there's truth there, so here's the perspective there. If I haven't accomplished the same level as you, then none of my truth is true and all of your truth is. First of all, that's flawed logic.
Okay.
Right. Just because, congratulations for having accomplished a bunch, and congratulations for being successful. And hopefully your people are really, really successful too. And they're all enjoying the same rewards that you have.
Right.
But just because you're successful doesn't mean that your truth starts with a capital T and mine starts with a small t. Okay.
Okay.
Secondly, I'm not challenging all of the things that you're saying, but I am challenging this particular aspect of your behavior. Okay. I do have a question about this. And if asking a question means that I'm on the other team, then that's confusing because the way I learn is by asking questions.
Right.
So if me asking a question or me pointing out an inconsistency means that I'm somehow the enemy, then I apologize for you receiving it that way. But that's not how it was intended. What I'm trying to do here is understand, and I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, sometimes that's really that's the response. Other times, it just means no. I may not be as successful as you, but I know wrong when I hear it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm more likely to say that than you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have less. I have less fuzzies. I'm less concerned about what other people think about me.
Yeah.
But having said that, and I also don't want. I want to be professional and appropriate in terms of my interactions with other people. I'm not trying to embarrass them in public. And there are times when I might make a comment in private one-on-one that I wouldn't make in public.
Yeah.
Because I just think that, when I'm addressing issues, there's ways to do that appropriately, and there's ways to not do that.
Yeah.
And so I may hold off and withhold a comment until later when I can have one-on-one time with someone versus public time with someone, because it would seem less challenging and less threatening, if you will.
Yeah.
But just because someone has been driving a car for 50 years doesn't mean they can't get into an accident. And just because someone has started driving doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to get in an accident. However,
Right.
having said that, the more years we have under our belt, the more likely we are to be able to be making good decisions because we've had more opportunity for that. So if someone says, hey, I've been very successful using this, then okay, let me peel away the onion and find out what's there for me, because I can't eat everything.
Right.
There might be some things that are valuable and some things that aren't, that I can't use because I'm a different person than you are. But hopefully in the midst of all of the stuff that you're sharing, there's something there that I can use, and I want to learn that. And if there's other stuff there that I'm not going to use, I need to be able to leave that alone, leave it to the side and not take it in.
Yeah.
And that's true with training too. I mean, we hear a whole bunch of stuff that we don't listen to or don't follow. But there's usually 4 or 5 nuggets that are really significant and impactful that we can take and internalize and make our own. And then we can go out and use those things and be successful with them.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting not a lecture in a bad way. I just feel like just like old times. Just like old times, XCAL. Okay, play.
You are bringing about. And so if you know that, if you understand that, then you should alter what you're thinking about, right? Sounds hard, doesn't it? It doesn't have to be. The first step to this is awareness, being just aware of what you're thinking about. And so if you're in traffic and you're feeling angry, then stop feeling that way. Stop focusing so much on the traffic, on the anger, on how this is no fair, I'm going to be late. Stop focusing on all the things that you don't want and start to focus more on what you do want. Now, the late great Bob Proctor was a master of teaching the law of attraction. And in my last interview with Bob, I asked him the question. I said, Bob, is it as simple as just focusing on your thoughts on what it is that you want in your life? Is that as easy it is to having your dream life? And he said, yes. That was his one-word answer. And, it may sound crazy, but here's the thing. As you start to think about this thing, you're actually sending off vibrations. Everything is energy. And they've proven that with quantum physics today. Everything is energy. We all send off vibration. What vibration are you sending off? Have you ever met someone and you said, I don't know about them. I just got a weird vibe from them. Well, vibe is short for vibration. You know, it wasn't that they had a weird mustache or they had there was something energetically that you sense that you didn't really jive with. And all it means, it doesn't mean that they're good or bad. It just means that they're different than the type of energy that you're used to being around or the type of energy that you're emanating. And so the law of attraction is something that if you understand, it's going to speed up the delivery of everything you want in your life. And it'll also prevent you from focusing so much on your challenges, on your obstacles, etc. And so I'm going to use some different examples throughout this video to help you out. So how should you use it? There are two things that you really want to be aware of. And you'll notice I say that a lot, awareness. Most people, not aware. They walk through life and they're just on autopilot to whatever emotions pop up, to whatever thoughts spring out. And if they're not on purpose working on themselves and their self-development, then by default, they're going to be inundated with negativity. Negativity from the media, negativity from politicians that are harping fear, injustice, anger. If you're not purposely working on yourself to improve, you're not just being inundated with joy and happiness, you're being inundated with negativity all around you.
I understand parts of what he's saying. I understand me being an emotional person. I can't watch every news station all the time. I'd rather read stuff. I can't watch certain movies because even though it's all pretend and I logically know it's pretend, it doesn't feel pretend to me. I get sad when the animals die. I get sad when people die. You know, and I know it's fake. And it's like, I can't care about everything. So I need to limit some of that stuff.
Right.
The line that I have, though, is that at least from my experience from watching stuff in MLM or watching leaders, they start to say, okay, if you're not focusing on joy and positive stuff, you're focusing on something else. If you're not actively being around motivated, positive people, you're going to be around unmotivated, negative people. And that's not the type. And so they start to dictate behavior or stuff like that, in my opinion. So I saw you nodding when he was saying some of that stuff. What do you agree with? What do you maybe not agree with?
So I agree with the fact that we that the way to change your life is to be intentional. First of all, that you know what it is that you're going after, whatever it is, and that you are intentional in the decisions you make of what you take in and what you don't take in. You know, and you have to have boundaries that say, I'm not taking this in. You know, if I go out in the morning and I just drive to work and I'm not consciously aware of things and not thinking about things, and I find myself in the middle of a very chaotic rush hour and I find myself getting angry, I need to find a way to balance that and check that and create the kind of attitude that I'm after. Because frankly, what I'm allowing my environment to do is to create an emotion inside me. And God tells us clearly that we're to control our emotions, that we're in charge of our emotions. It's not the other way around. That we're the ones that we are the ones that can determine how we feel and what we do with those feelings. Let me put it that way. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you're always in control of how you feel every single second. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that the choices that we make when we realize how we're feeling, we're not to be controlled by our emotions per se. We get to be controlled by the decisions that we make, acknowledging that we're feeling a certain way or not feeling a certain way. So I think that being very, he says aware, on purpose. I use the word intentionality because it's what we're intentional about that we end up accomplishing. We rarely accomplish things that we're not intentional about. And so being intending or being intentional about something creates a focus on it. If I'm intending to behave in a very positive and happy and outgoing way, then that does create more of those feelings inside me. But the more I behave that way intentionally, the more I become that way. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm never unhappy. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be concerned or serious or depressed or whatever the case might be. But what it does mean is that I'm more and more focusing on behaving in a certain way and creating that awareness for that. So if, for example, if I'm in a selling situation, let's use that, since multi-level marketing is, very much a sales-oriented or recruiting-oriented thing. If I'm in a sales situation and I'm very intentional about closing the sale, then I'm listening and paying attention to the things that would indicate that a person is ready to make a buying decision. And so I'm more likely to ask them a meaningful question that says, how close are you to making that buying decision?
Yeah.
And so, and by being that way, I'm more likely to find success there because I'm paying attention to it. It's like in tennis. If I'm paying attention to how I'm hitting my forehand and I hit that time and time again, then when an opportunity comes up to hit a forehand in a match, I'm paying attention to the right things. And so that doesn't necessarily mean I always hit my forehand perfectly, but I'm much more likely to hit it correctly and purposely if I've done that work to be intentional about creating the right kind of a hit there. And so and that holds true in life with lots of things. The more intentional I am about something, the more I value it, the more I pay it, the more I'm likely to focus on that, and the more likely I am to have the right outcome as a result of that thing happening.
So Crystal said, I get being in an environment that you can't change, like traffic, and putting on a song to make it better, but having emotions is a good thing.
I'm not saying your emotions aren't a good thing. I mean, they are. They can be a good thing. But what about when you're having bad emotions? What about when you're not feeling great? So having emotions is a part of being alive. But what I'm saying is we don't necessarily allow those emotions to control the way we behave, because our behavior driven by emotions, as opposed to our behavior driven by our mind, that's a different thing. If I'm angry at you, if I'm angry at you, that's an emotion. Does that give me the right to punch you?
Right.
I mean, we have emotions, and those emotions are real, and I'm really angry at you.
Right.
Okay. But I know that I have a choice, and I know that there are ways to process that and be able to respond to that in a way that doesn't create animosity and tension between us. So which one is better? I still have the same emotion. I'm still angry, but how I choose to behave, see, that's where, Covey talks about that. The difference between animals and us is that we have that moment of choice. We get to choose what the action is going to be as a result of how we feel or the stimulus. So the response is on us. The stimulus may not be on us. Someone may push me or behave badly to me, but I still get to choose how I respond. And my choice, that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused about how do I choose to respond. So if I'm unhappy, that's a legitimate emotion, unhappiness. Why am I unhappy? What is it that's making me unhappy? Is it a situation that I can get away from? Is it some more significant life issue? And I can turn on a song and help me be better. Or do I need to sit down and talk with someone to help me work through some of the feelings I'm having? I get to make a choice at that point in time. I get to decide. I don't just respond because I'm unhappy, or I don't get to respond just because I'm happy.
Yeah.
Or I don't respond just because I'm angry, or I don't get to respond just because I love something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that I can speak to this a little bit because growing up, I would say that I wasn't a terrible kid, but I had some very memorable moments where I short-circuited myself and I was all of my everything is firing. I'm extremely overly stimulated. I'm extremely angry, and I would, if you can imagine, live chat, I let people have it around me, and that was that conversation of it again. I don't. My parents never said you need to stop feeling this way. You need to stop being angry. You need to stop whatever. They said you can't take everybody out with you. That same thing. You have a decision. You can make a choice. Now, is it much easier to make that choice now that I'm on medicine? Sure is. So, you know, XCAL was talking about therapy and counseling and talking through stuff. And I have a great life situation. I love my partner. I have a floofy little dog who yodels all the time, which mostly is great unless he's doing it all the time. But you know what I mean? Like I'm not in an abusive situation. I'm not in a job I hate. There's lots of factors that don't necessarily contribute to why am I feeling this way all the time. And in the therapy, and then you go in for testing, and it's like, okay, this may assist you. So, I think that was helpful too. And then Crystal said, emotions and actions are different to me. I can be angry and not physically or verbally lash out. I couldn't as a kid sometimes. And my dad will tell you, and again, it was lots of conversations of talking through that, but there were many times that I did not feel that there was barely internally, there felt like there was no separation between hearing a loud noise or not being able to process through something, getting angry, and that. And again, there still was a choice. I'm saying as a kid, sometimes there did not feel like there was a choice. And now that I feel like the medicine has helped me personally with lots of things. But again, I think it's additionally practice of the self-control thing is a good thing. And that Caspians are upline. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Let's listen to Ray.
And your environment does
Wait, why are we
impact you? And so the first step is awareness. What am I thinking about? How am I feeling? And maybe you think that you're just, your emotions are you. You're not your emotions. That thing that we can't identify the sign in any kind of organ, you are the master of your emotions, and at least you can be the master of your emotions, which is so important. When it comes to attracting more things to you, if you want to speed things up, really dive into emotions. Now, typically your thoughts are the ones that lead you to emotions, so you do need to be aware of your thoughts. But the biggest thing is your emotions. Your emotions are the co-creator of your world. And that is the thing that your heart listens to, your subconscious listens to. And as it listens to your emotions, it is a non-judgmental partner, and it believes that you're giving it instructions as to what you want more of. And so like if you are constantly thinking about how life is unfair, you're literally telling the subconscious, hey, I want more things to notice how unfair life is. And so that law of attraction kicks in, and that subconscious starts to co-create in your world, and that's what you're going to get more of. This is something that if you just start focusing more effort, more energy, more attention on the things that you actually want in your life, the things that you want to experience. And this involves something called, becoming incongruent with your actual reality. You see, Vadim Zeland says your reality out there is just a slow-moving mirror reflection of what's in here. So everything in your life, every result in your life is actually all based on who you've been up till now. If you want to alter reality, you can't reach out to reality because that's just a slow-moving mirror reflection of what's inside of you. Instead, you change what's inside of you, and who you become becomes your future. One of the things that Dr. Joe Dispenza says is spend more time with memories of your future than memories of your past. Now, what does that mean? It means that with your imagination, you're creating scenarios you want to experience before they happen, and you spend more time with those things. And as you repeat them in your imagination and in your mind, they actually start to become memories. You start to remember the images that you've created.
This sounds a little bit like neuro-linguistic programming to me, but I am not a fan of unethical people utilizing that strong of a tool to potentially manipulate others. Okay. I think he's letting the floofs in. Yeah, and I think, yeah, and so Crystal, you're saying kids are different. There's a lot happening as a kid, and you sometimes don't know what to name the emotion, so how you can name the action as an adult. Use lots of therapy, I can control it. Yeah, and you know, my mom and my dad had lots of conversations with all of us. Some of my siblings are better with processing emotions. I think they gave us a good amount of leeway for trying to process and grow and become an adult. But back to neuro-linguistic programming, XCAL. I understand visualization in terms of tennis, about when I was working with that sports psychologist for a little while. Seeing the shot in your head and then making the shot. I understand it in those slivers of a way. I get nervous when big leaders like this have their downline do that with, and we've seen it done on Zoom calls. He's talking about it here, seeing those successful moments happen that have not happened, or seeing these very complex plot outlines about the timeline of their career. I don't know what you think about it, and I think you and I might think differently on it, but I'd love to hear what you think.
Okay. So let me ask you a question about that. You made a comment before I went over to open the door that you felt uncomfortable about people using that, manipulating that technique to create the result.
Yeah. And
I'm going to go back to a comment I made earlier that, a pen is a tool. There's nothing, this pen can be used by someone who's ethical and has high integrity or has low integrity. And what they write and what they send to someone can be very different. It's not the pen's fault. So the tool in and of itself, is just that. The process of learning how to visualize and create and see a positive result that you're shooting for. There's nothing wrong with that. In and of itself, that's a powerful, powerful tool that helps you to accomplish things that left to the random chances of the day-to-day, day-to-day life you might be less likely to accomplish. But you're right. Anything that but anything misused is I don't blame you. I would have an issue with that too, if they were misusing it in a way that created that manipulated people to get a result that wasn't in their best interest.
Yeah. And I guess like the main, using something like this NLP, that visualization technique, in the context of being in a multi-level marketing team, a tightly knit community, you have probably a lot of one-on-one contact with your upline, with your cross line. And then I guess my concern is when it crosses over into your mind becoming less free, because it gets tied into these narratives where the MLM, you've visualized this so much with all the success is tied to you hitting all these ranks in your MLM, when you have had lots of jobs in your career and you kind of balance out when, okay, I need to move on. this is either not healthy or there's a better opportunity somewhere else.
Yep.
In these the calls that I've seen, because they record it and they upload it to YouTube, they do these visualization where you're hitting all of these ranks within that specific company, and then you're going on these trips, and then you're getting these cars, and then you're again, and you're paving these neural pathways in your brain that are tied to the MLM company. When I get it in the short term with like an ethical licensed clinician, but with a multi-level marketing leader where they have a vested interest in you staying with them as long as possible.
Okay.
I guess I've got some concerns like, hey, there may be a ditch. There may be a ditch up ahead. There might be a ditch on both sides of the road. So, I guess I have my antennas, my little fuzzies up about this because of what I've gone through. And obviously my experience is different than yours. And I'm also a different personality type than yours. What is it? I'm neurotic on a very high level. I'm concerned with like everything that could go wrong. I think about it a lot. So you're not the same way. I think you're 2% for whenever we did that test or whatever. And I'm a great babysitter. I'm for sure. You know what I mean? I'm great at that. So, I don't know. I also don't want to paint a picture like, hey, this is incredibly dangerous, but I'm also a type of person that looks at things and say, driving in the car is incredibly dangerous. Driving on the highway increase my risks of getting in a car accident, which I don't want to do at any cost, So my bias, my personality type might put weight on things that don't necessarily need that weight applied to them, if that makes sense. So can you speak to what's the balanced perspective about this?
Well, I would say the good news for you is that Mr. DC is a good balance for you because he brings a lot of the counterbalance to some of those kinds of things. I'd also say that just because the whole saying that just because you're paranoid doesn't mean someone's not out to get you. The reality is there could very well be some issues involved in that, and your predisposition to being more likely to examine those would allow you a chance to perhaps look ahead and see what some of the pitfalls are. Now, having said, you do have a predisposition against anything positive being an MLM, and I understand that. I get that. But I will tell you that just being an unbiased third-party observer, if that process helps someone who's in MLM to become more successful because they are visualizing that and that helps them along in the road, are they being manipulated or are they being encouraged? I think the situation when we say manipulation, the implication for that is that we're getting someone to do something that they don't that isn't really good for them. That's not a healthy thing. And so, if I'm involved in MLM and I understand what the work ethic and what that involves, and I'm willing to go through all the garbage because there's garbage in every job. I don't care what they how the company's set up. There's garbage in every job. But if they're willing to go through that and slog through it and take their shovel out and dig out the hole every day, and they become more successful because of a technique that someone has shared with them that helps them see the future more clearly, are they being manipulated or are they being encouraged in a situation like that? I would argue that they're using a tool to their benefit. I think that where the problem comes up is when people use those tools they're not in that situation. It's not to their benefit. It's to their detriment.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I start to have questions when that technique is used to silence people. Not that it's like it's an overt mind control.
You're right. That's an inappropriate use of that tool. Exactly.
Yeah. And so I would just, I guess if you're watching this, y'all all know that XCAL and I view MLM differently. So before you burn my channel to the ground, I talk to lots of people that don't agree with me about stuff, and we are civil and respectful here. We can have civil and respectful conversations with people, even when they don't believe the exact same way as us. I know that some of y'all think that XCAL raised little clones. That's far from the case. We're all very different, and it was all very stressful on my parents raising us. So if you can imagine 5 people with way different personalities, it was a whole moment. But
it's like all of their homes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So again, it's that my this isn't an echo chamber, and that's a good thing. Exactly, Fizzle Sticks. And so that this whole NLP technique that he's teaching about, I guess I've seen so many situations where people have questions that are shut down, and then they're told, hey, this great tool can help you visualize and get better and do better in MLM, when that balance is not extended to the person who had the questions in the first place. So I would say, yeah, let's do ethical stuff in MLM. Let's have integrity. And we talk, some of the pro MLM side say, oh, if it's done with integrity, it works out. Well, show us a team where they're doing that. I would love to see a team where they're fully informed, that a picture is painted, that there's a balanced income disclosure statement presented, where there is a Janet, I don't agree with XCAL and MLMs, but I still respect him. We appreciate that, Janet. Janet is spicy, and she's amazing. She just got 2 new little kitties, and they're so cute. Yeah, and again, I think the nice thing about XCAL, other than we already like him, but I think the balance that he brings, we can have a calm discussion. He's very smart too. He brings a different perspective, and I think increasing our empathy, increasing our ability to think about the other side of the conversation, or at least a different facet of the conversation, only helps us grow our understanding, which is great. So that was a little bit of a tangent. Hold on. Where'd my mouse? No. Hold on. Okay. That's why I've got a key. I got my little
the visualizations that you've.
Oh no. Hold on. I'm still paused. Nope. Come on. Oh, there we go. We got a mouse. All right. Come over here. Okay.
Created, and you start to set yourself on a different path. And this is something that may not be easy if you're, struggling with money, if you're dead broke, if you're, in a bad relationship or whatever. But you know that whatever you focus the most on, that's what you get more of. So I'd love to hear from you, and I am certain there are some skeptics on here as well. Have you ever used the law of attraction without maybe even knowing it? Like you were thinking about someone, and then all of a sudden they called you, or you were craving a certain dish and all of a sudden it shows up for you. Like what is an example?
No. I think God, XCAL's shaking his head. So
yeah, someone needs to limit the amount of recreational drugs the guy's doing. That's okay.
For legal purposes, that's a joke. YouTube, that is a joke. Oh, pause story. Look at my bicep, bro. Yep. Caspian, no, go out, buddy.
That you've seen, and maybe you didn't know how to do it, but all of a sudden it became a coincidence, and all of a sudden it happened for you. Drop us a comment. I read and respond to every comment, so I'd love to hear your examples. I have quite a few. I'd love to hear yours. So here are 2 activities that will really help you kick in law of attraction so you get what it is that you actually want. Number 1, set intentions. Now, this is something you should do literally all the time. So for example, today I'm shooting a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and last night and this morning I set the intention that it was going to go smooth, it was going to go easy and quick, and it was going to come out fantastically and people were going to love them. And so when you take the time to preemptively set intentions for whatever it is that you're doing, wherever it is that you're going, all of a sudden you'll notice that things start to shift in your favor. When I'm driving up here, it's about a 4-hour drive for me to get to the studio. When I'm driving up here, I set the intention of clear roads. It's nice and easy. It goes by quickly. And that's been my experience for the most part, is that it does seem to go quickly. I don't really seem to encounter a lot of traffic. And it's interesting.
What do you mean you could control traffic? This is the part where I agree with some of the stuff he said, and then he says stuff like this where it's like, whoa.
Just filter it out and act like he's not saying it.
Too, because I'll look on the other side. So when I'm coming north, I'll see the south side seems to, have a lot of traffic. And when I'm heading back home, it looks like the north side is having traffic, but my side typically doesn't have a whole lot of traffic. And so it's pretty cool. Setting intention. So this past weekend, I spoke at an event in Dallas. And I set the intention that people were going to ask me to help them and coach them, that people were going to ask me to speak at other events. And I already have those things happening. I set the intention. And so it's really turning on the antenna and saying, this is what I want more of. And all of a sudden you start experiencing different things in your world. And I've done this so many different times with so many different examples. And so setting intentions, don't just show up. Don't just say, I hope it goes well. Set the intention. What do you actually want out of that meeting, out of that date, out of that speaking event, or whatever it is that you're doing, right? Out of your day at work? Why not? If you're getting dressed and you're getting ready for your day of work, why not say, this is going to be the best day ever? People are going to love to work with me. People are going to want to work with me. It's going to be a high money day. Why not set the intentions first? Set the intentions before you actually fulfill. I mean, it's literally the most powerful activity you can possibly do is before bed. Create a visualization of having the things you actually want in your life. And so you can see yourself. And one way to really jog your memory and really dial it in is by using the 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, fun. And so why not create intentions around all of those things? And before you go to bed, which is when, as soon as you go to sleep, that's when your subconscious kicks in and the law of attraction really kicks in. And all of a sudden the next day you start experiencing some of these things that you've been thinking about. And so before you go to bed.
Can we stop it right here for just a second? Setting the intention or setting goals or whatever the case might be, there's tons and tons of value with that. Is he going to, at some point in time, talk about after setting the intentions that you have to do stuff to make all that stuff happen? Is he going to actually talk about that, or is it just going to be this brainwave, getting, midichlorian kind of a thing that, he's going to, and then he's going to take out his lightsaber and cut the cars in half that are blocking this traffic way?
Yeah, I think it's more of the midichlorian side, at least in this video. So I know that you just love that. Chelsea said, I don't think XCAL is here for the woo-woo bullshit. So
I mean, if he's talking about setting intentions, that is exactly the beginning point. But then all the things that you do to make that day of YouTube videos productive and effective has to happen. Yeah. So you can't just sit there and think things into reality. That's not how it works, pal. I mean, it's just he's driving on the side that doesn't have traffic, and somehow his vibrations are creating no traffic. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Yeah. Yep. I know that he has, like, in some of his videos, I think he has about 700 videos on YouTube. I think he does talk about some activities, but what we've heard from people who have taken his course where they paid to take his course, there's not a lot of, in my opinion, there's not a lot of action steps. So like when I worked for you, you're like, you need to know what we offer companies inside and out, and you need to ask questions. And there were so many learning opportunities when I would go to a job and I would come back and you'd ask me questions that I had forgotten to ask, and you'd send me back to the client. And that feeling of having to go back to the client and ask the questions, it really solidified, like, XCAL's not kidding, and this is quite embarrassing, and I need to learn these questions better. So it was just one of those things where, like, I get the action steps of you actually need to know the material. You need to listen, but you also need to know the questions to ask, because if
Yeah.
you get all the questions you know to ask answered, that doesn't mean those are all the questions that could have been asked.
Mhm.
And so it's just, there's, like you're saying, action steps. There's, you know, there's actual things to do. And controlling traffic is such so dumb.
See yourself having all the things that you want in those 5 areas of your life. You may want to write them down: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. And so why not create scenarios of you having the things, not in the future. You want to be very, very careful. Do not think that setting things in the future is activating the law of attraction. What it's actually doing is it's keeping them in the future. So if you say things like, I will be wealthy, well, I will be means you're not. You actually, for law of attraction to work, you actually want to have as if you already are that thing, and you're sending off the vibration, and you're allowing reality to catch up to what you've actually created in your mind. And so it's not, oh, I will be skinny, I will be healthy, I will be wealthy. It's, I am. I am wealthy. I am skinny, if that's your goal, right? I am healthy. The more of that you can embody, of being present tense or even past tense, I've accomplished this thing, right? So past or present is where you want to stay, not future, because future is always outside of your reach. Now, if this was helpful to you, you may really like my wife and I's book called Time, Money, Freedom. In it, we break down not just how we use law of
I don't think this is going to get XCAL's stamp of approval for recommended reading.
Attraction and visualization and things like
that. Except that's just as good as a thumbs up on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, if you like this video, thumbs up. But if you don't like it, just leave us a comment. For me, it'll do the same thing, and we can have a conversation. If you hate this video, just go over and like his video. I'll link it in the description.
But we actually break down the 10 simple rules to redefine what's possible and radically reshape your life. We are honored to be published by Hay House, an amazing, amazing publisher. And so if you'd like to check this out, you can, down in the link in below. And I mentioned the movie The Secret. What's cool about that is I actually have multiple people who were in that movie that have given us great testimonials for this book, such as Jack Canfield and John Assaraf. And so if you'd like to learn more, click the link down in the description and get our Time, Money, Freedom book.
Okay, goodbye.
All right.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How do I reach out to successful people?
Oh.
Yeah, there's lots more videos. I just probably some good videos that you might agree with some of his stuff on. I don't know. Yeah, so that's Ray Higdon. That's him on his best behavior in his shiny studio. We've one of the bigger creators, Erin Bees, she got someone sent her some of his paid for coaching videos where he was not happy. He went basically from calm like you're being to screaming at everyone on the call. Really? Yeah, just so how affable he is in whatever this video, how like professional and salesy and calm he was. It was scary to watch someone go from that to, well, for me, I mean, you know how I am. Yep. I would have been like, I'm out. I want a refund. No, thanks. Goodbye. And
I probably would too. I mean, that would be now, and that video is an example of things that have certain parts that are truth in there, but then it just kind of goes down and gets off in the ditch and then starts going cross country on stuff.
Yeah.
In other words, I think the idea of setting intentions and creating creating a perspective of what it is you're trying to accomplish or that you want to accomplish is absolutely something that's critically important in the process that includes a whole bunch of other stuff. But to sit there and say, I'm driving through, I love driving in, light traffic and think that somehow creates light traffic for you to drive in is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, let's face it, it's just not true. And you know, if someone has a wreck in front of him, does he just keep driving? I mean, what's if it, you know, does he think harder about it? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. The reality is that if he's thinking about that, and because he's spending so much time thinking, he's not driving during rush hour, then that would help him.
Yeah.
it made him drive later than the traffic would be backed up. But anyways, I'm trying to make a joke about the fact that I think that there were pieces of that were true.
Yeah.
And there were pieces of that were not true. And so our ability to discern and be able to take things out that make sense versus things out that don't make sense, I think are important. Yes, Crystal, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I think that's the twisty part for, let's say people are first learning about good goals, good habits for routines, and trying to set things up to be the most successful, like at your job. Meaning, for example, you're reading your manual, you're learning everything that you offer in your company, you're practicing your sales pitch, you're going and actually doing the sales pitch in front of customers. Then you're coming back and you're realizing you need to get better at it. And that's that back and forth. But you have some of those things where you have some good habits set up. So like, let's say there's a new person coming into that. So they listen to Ray, they listen to the good parts. They're not able to necessarily discern between the parts that seem crazy, like, oh, you can actually manifest wealth to you, or you can actually manifest whatever to you, because they've already bought into the, you know, the first part of what he said, that where some of the truth was, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It feels like some people get sucked in for a little bit longer because it takes them a while to figure out that some, like you were saying earlier, some of the stuff had some truth to it and some of it didn't.
But here's the thing: as soon as he started talking about driving in light traffic and seeing the traffic on the other side, everyone's BS meter should have gone off.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone's BS meter should have gone off.
Yeah, that should have, but I think that, I mean, the network marketing space also is targeting, you know, a younger crowd, early, like middle of college or right out of college, sometimes younger. And I think there's some hope sometimes that your thinking can change things for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like an actuality where he's talking about manifesting wealth, and he's talking about manifesting promotions and manifesting all this other stuff. I think there's people hanging on for a while, hoping that all of the things he's saying is true, and not necessarily listening to, not discerning, like, hey, this is the truthful part, this is the not truthful part. Because he will probably say, without blinking an eye, that he manifested his wealth, or he manifested his success, or he manifested A, B, C, D, or E. And there's another network marketer in the space, Jessie Lee Ward, where in her bio on Instagram, she had #1 network marketer in the world. She had it for years and years and years. And we were all like, are you the #1 network marketer? Come to find out, it was a neuro-linguistic programming practice where she was setting her intention and speaking it out into the universe that she was the #1. And she still claims to this day that she is she's earning the most per month out of any network marketer in the world. So I don't know. It's interesting to listen to some of this NLP play out in public. Where's the balance, Dad, between telling the truth and changing your mindset? Because if I'm not the #1 network marketer in the world, I'm not going to tell people that I'm the #1 network marketer in the world. Does that make sense? Like, that's a lie. Like, that's false.
Correct.
So, I mean, it matters to me because, you know, I love a good rule, but what shouldn't it matter to other people too? I don't know.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that should matter that doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, should it be important that they talk honestly about how how people in their company make money and who does and who doesn't. Yeah, that should, but they don't always do that. So yeah, like I said, just because someone is their mouth is moving on the internet doesn't mean that they're telling you the truth.
Yeah, same for us too. I mean, always check us for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, can you manifest the Halloween decorations to display themselves? Yeah, we'll just manifest ourselves to 1 million followers. We'll do that on YouTube. We'll monetize XCAL. He won't have to go back to work. That's what we'll do. That is what we'll do.
I'd like to manifest the dog poop in the backyard getting picked up.
Yeah. Maybe you could teach Coda and Sarge how to pick it up themselves.
Exactly. That's what I'm manifesting right now. I'm setting the intention.
Yeah. So closing thoughts, what would you tell someone? Let's say a pro multi-level marketer finds our video. Let's say they make it to the end of this video, and if I'm not saying talk them out of MLM, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, what would be your recommendation for how to have discernment, how to encourage having a discerning mind that is critical and curious, where you're not necessarily just accepting everything you come across? What would your recommendation be to those people?
Well, to anybody, I would say, A, ask questions. B, be quiet and listen to what they say when they answer your question. In other words, did you get an answer that's meaningful, that's specific, and that gets to the point you were after? And C, don't be afraid to put in a little work on your own part to find out whether or not what people say is true. In other words, be willing to do your own digging to find out. Just because a company says they're the #1 company in the world for whatever, or a person says they're the #1 person in the world for whatever, do you get a hook through your cheek and just swallow the bait, or do you say, I wonder if that's really accurate? Let me see if I can go find out. There's nothing wrong with a little healthy skepticism to dig in and turn over the rocks and see for yourself. Ultimately, you get to look in the mirror and say, it's my fault, whether you win or not. You get to own some part of that process. You get to own the part of the decision where you chose to do things. And that doesn't mean we always make the right calls. We don't. I mean, part of learning is making the wrong calls and then picking ourselves up and go doing the right thing after that. And that's true whether it be, MLM related or life related or education related or whatever. It's not over till it's over. So we get to keep moving. Yeah. And that's the important thing, to keep moving forward.
Great. Well, another great time with XCAL. Hopefully we're going to get to maybe stream more often. Potentially, I know he's got to go be with his little grandkids, and he's about to get a new grandkid soon, so he's got to make the rounds. And if y'all could send him all the positive vibes and good manifesting thoughts for
your intention on XCAL.
Yeah, so he just left his home sales job today, so love to. I don't know. I know y'all all support him. Y'all all really like him being here. I like that he even likes to stream with me. I really feel like the balanced perspective he brings, while sometimes it's a little uncomfy, I think it's good for us all. I think it's been good for me. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's been good to have these conversations on the channel, and, yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you next time. And maybe I'll make a post so y'all can decide what XCAL should react to, what should react to next. So, I know I see all of y'all doing the little yay for the new grandbaby. She's almost here at the end of the month. Thanks very much for the stream, DC and XCAL. I really appreciate it. Take care and be well, everyone. Oh,
yep. Same to y'all. It's been great.
XCAL, so are you semi-retired or are you?
I'm way too young to be retired.
Yeah, we're streaming. XCAL and I are streaming.
Yeah.
We're getting monetized, and we're going to supplement XCAL's income so he doesn't have to do anything else.
told me my income got doubled on this stream. Come on.
Yeah, we're quadrupling it. We're quadrupling it now since you're retired. So cool. All right, I'm going to roll the outro. Y'all be safe, make good decisions, get your questions answered, and we will see you on the next live stream. All right, bye.
Bye, everyone. Okay.